and their wife leaves them for another man, and the man goes to this regular straight bar, quote-unquote. And at the straight bar, for lack of a better term, his wife and some other guy go there every night and get drunk and carouse. And so finally this man, spurned by his wife, goes to that bar and commits a violent act like this. Not because he's against straight people. You're not going to hear people on the left come out and say, he's a straight phobe. He's a persecutor of straight people. Right? You'll hear them say that we need to take away guns, but you won't hear them say he's attacking straight people or straight white people if it's a country bar or something. You know what I mean? So what are they going to say? Is it possible that that's like this, but the guy might be gay? Now that the Denver Gazette has committed journalism tonight, and that the New York Times has committed journalism tonight, it's very exceedingly rare for them, and it says that he wishes to, anyway, it says he's a target of online bullying and showed signs of a fascination with gay culture. Wow. Well, now the whole thing may be blown up, huh? Which one do you blame here? Do you blame guns? Because they're telling us to blame guns yesterday. Today they're telling us to blame disagreement with the child drag brunches or, the LGBTQ lifestyle. Which one is it? Who do you blame or what do you blame for this? Our number is 866-907-3339, 866-99, Red-Eye, that's 866-907-3339. And when we come back, I'm going to explain, and I'll tell you who I blame for this. What entity or thing I blame for this alleged terrorist actions. Coming up next, it's Chris Crock across America, in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Cold temperatures and water can lead to only one outcome, and ice has no place in a truck's air system. That's why you must keep your air system moisture-free as the temperatures begin to drop. A simple step toward keeping your air system moisture-free is manually draining the air tanks. You should drain your air tanks more frequently if your vehicle has a high air demand. Moisture that is not removed by the dryer must be manually drained from the tank.
United Kingdom and Canada. These are all governments now, that represent the, like China and the Soviet Union and the United States.
Okay, well, now we're going to catalog, because if that's the case, if that's the God we serve, where he's going to stand and catalog every single fall we make, he didn't have enough time. Even if...
Yes, sir. That's right. The people's government. Now, the first was like a lion. Now, what I want to tell you is that this description that I'm going to read to you started to come into being at the birth of the United Kingdom. Again, I want to reiterate to you that the symbol of the United Kingdom, the British Empire, was and is the lion. And it was the first end-time government here at the end of the age. It began somewhere in the middle 1700s that literally began to send its tentacles, its long-ranged arms, into all parts of the world. Remember when they said the British government, the sun never sets on the British Empire? Do you remember that? I remember that so vividly. They reached into every part of the world. It's unique. They even were involved in the setting up of the land and the nation of Israel. So here in the end time, he says, as we come to the end of the age, we see these four beasts, these four world governments, and governments that will affect the entire world come into being. And they come up out of masses of people, declaring they are governments of the people, for the people, you know, the People's Party, the people. You've heard it many, many times. The first one was like a lion. That's your British Empire. And had eagle's wings. What came out of the British Empire but the United States of America? What's the symbol of the U.S.? Why, the eagle. So now we have these two governments that come up here at the end time. Or don't you people know that the United States is just a little over 200 years old? Lord have mercy, going back again to that 1776. And then just before that, the great growing of the British Empire. That might go back a little bit further than that, maybe back somewhere around the Reformation, when God found the spiritual Reformation under Martin Luther. He began the natural government raising up of the British government, the lion, and then her eagle's wings, which became the United States of America. I'm reading from chapter 7, verse 4 of the book of Daniel. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and they stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Now, the wings of the eagle were plucked, and it turned into a man. Listen to what the United States has done. After becoming a very powerful nation that broke off from the UK, and it mounted up and became a great, great nation, exalted higher than even the UK or the British government, its wings were plucked, and it became like a man. Everyone knows the United States has claimed this humanitarian attitude, its human approach to mankind, considering ourselves in this country the most civilized people that's ever lived on the face of the earth. We became known for our humanity, and man prospered under the U.S. Now, in the midst of all this, he says in verse 5, and behold, another beast. Remember now, the first beast, out of it, the British Empire, came the second nation, the United States. Now we find a second beast, a second government that starts to influence the rest of the world, the whole of the world. Look into it. Like to a bear. Well, the Russian bear. It became very strong, and its combined power was to take charge of masses of countries and people, and it raised itself up on one side. Now what did it do? It raised itself up on the side of anti-God. It became a nation of a political process that we come to know as communism. And they were strong in their anti-God, no-God social philosophy. They became very strong, the Russian Soviet bear. It had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. What did it do? As the Soviet Union came into power and communism became sweeping throughout the world, they killed and butchered and destroyed millions. I forget, 30 to 35 million in the Soviet Union alone, and an equal amount in China. And God only knows how many millions were butchered under the butchery of communism worldwide, and even to this day, as its child, the socialistic theology, goes forward. Now, it was strong on one side, and it ate up humanity left and right. Verse number 6. And this is where we are right now. After this I beheld, and lo, another what? Another beast. Another government like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. Notice this now. This government includes the eagle government and the British government and even the bear, all combined, and yet a different application. The beast has also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. 4 heads. The strength of the world government is politics, a social structure, an economic structure, and last but not least, the backing of religions worldwide. It has 4 heads. Verse number 7. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast. That's the one that's coming into being now, my friend. If you would go back to the book of Revelation, you would find in the 13th chapter of the book of Revelation, where he said, I saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Isn't that something? Just like the book of Daniel. I saw him strove upon the great sea, and the 4 great beasts came up from the sea. Now this beast that John saw in chapter 13 of the book of Revelation, he said, I saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Now that spiritual event took place a few years ago when Mr. George Bush Sr. was in office as President of the United States, and Mr. Gorbachev, the ex-butcher of the KGB, who was as big a terrorist as the world has ever seen, they both, heads of their beast governments, the bear and the eagle, they ended up going to visit the Pope of Rome, who is going to bring together all the religions of the world, because the 7 women will take hold of one man. 7 world religions are going to come under the dominant leadership of the Pope of Rome, and they're going to say to the Pope and to that religious system, take away our illegitimacy. We will maintain our own houses of worship. We will pay our own bills. All we ask you to do, Mr. Pope, is to give us legitimacy and tell us we have a right to worship and serve the God and the manner in which we do it, and we will pay homage to you as a great religious leader. And of course, every one of you knows that that's exactly what the Pope and the Catholic Church is doing now, as they are embracing every religion. All 7 of them throughout the world are coming under the auspices of authority by the Vatican. Now, John said, remember, John was on the island of Patmos. He was looking west towards the rock of Gibraltar, towards the western part of the Mediterranean Sea, and he said, I saw a beast rise up out of the sea having 7 heads. Isn't that something? What do they call these 7 economic powers today? The meeting of the 7. We just see it so many times. The 7 nations who have control of the economics of the world. And 10 horns. Of course, they added a few others to them. And upon his horns 10 crowns. And upon his crowns a name of blasphemy. And the beast, here it is now. And this I beheld, and lo, I'm reading from Daniel, chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. A charge was given to it. John said in Revelation 13:2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. His feet, listen to this, as the feet of the bear, his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Notice, all three of these previous governments are involved in this one. In this one. The lion, the UK, the feet of a bear, ladies and gentlemen, the Russians, and the mouth of a lion, which was the United States, which speaks profoundly for all the English-speaking British-type people throughout the world. And it says they got their power from the dragon, from Satan, the secret brotherhood, and what have you. They got their power from the dragon and gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. I saw one of these heads as it were wounded to death. Now that one head that was wounded is the head of the nation of Germany. Few people can remember that in both of our two previous world wars, they were both started by Germany. Both of them. As we came to the ending of the Second World War, when it seems like the Allies were comprised of Russia, England, U.S., and France. They comprised the four Allied nations. And they were marching on to Germany now, up through Normandy, on through, heading for Berlin. And the final demise of the German forces was in its making. Mr. General Eisenhower was in charge of the Allied command. Mr. Stalin, believe it or not, atheistic, communistic, the Germans had beat them bad. I mean, the Germans had beat them bad. And yet, Mr. Stalin was still moving now back down towards Germany, because as Hitler was fighting the Russians on the Russian front, the attack from the Allies came from the back. He had to pull back from the Russian front to defend his western front, and when he did, the Russians started to come back into the war. Instead of marching into Berlin and just wiping out Hitler, General Eisenhower held up on the day of conquest until Stalin could move up, and all four of the Allied powers could march into Berlin together, making them a conquering group. So therefore, when we finally defeated Germany, as they tell us, and Berlin fell, there were four powers, four nations who were involved. And so when they split up the occupational forces of Germany, they split it up into four sectors. The French sector, the British sector, the United States sector, and would you believe it? The Soviet sector. Well, you know what happened, don't you? It wasn't long to Stalin split from the Western Allies, built the Berlin Wall, and took and wounded this powerful head, Germany. It's unique now, isn't it, that under Mr. Gorbachev, when he and Mr. Bush went to see the Pope of Rome, Mr. Gorbachev goes back, brings about a coup that brought down the Soviet Union, and out of it came the Russian bear. Mr. Bush comes back and gets us into a fiasco that he called a move towards the New World Order. I was reading an article the other day about that particular thing. What's at stake here, Mr. Bush said. In December 31st, 1990, he said, is the New World Order. What's at stake here is whether we can have disputes peacefully resolved in the future by a reinvigorated United Nations. In January, he spoke, the Gulf crisis has to do with a New World Order. Wow. In August of 1991, he said, a New World Order is not a fact. It is an aspiration and an opportunity. I hope history will record that the Gulf crisis was the crucibility of the New World Order. Mr. Bush, ladies and gentlemen, began to push the plans that have been in place for a long time to bring about a New World Order. Just the other night, and by the way, this is Wednesday, October the 10th, Mr. Tony Blair said, we are going to order a new world. Wow, we're going to play checkers and chess and move around nations and governments and people until we come up with a world order that is going to bring about peace, and we're going to have a one world government for the New World Order. So, what happened after Mr. Gorbachev brought down the Soviet Union and the Russian bear came back into play? The thing we know that Germany was reunited. The head was healed. Now, do you understand right now as I'm talking to you that just the other day, the United States, which was a part of NATO, and we know they've rearranged NATO now, has now asked for NATO to send planes over to the United States to help guard our security. Planes that we actually gave to them, AWACS. And of course, everyone knows that the thrust and the power behind the NATO forces is Germany. Germany. I told you all along, Germany's going to rise again and play a major part in the final Third World War and the entire world government that's going to be set up and ruled from the international bankers, from your invisible brotherhood, from the powers that be upon the face of the earth. Lord bless you. This is Brother Stair. You're listening to a message that was preached right after 9/11 and extensively exhausted this particular subject of the ram and the goat. It has to do with the war against terrorism. And it is amazing because it was right after we went into Afghanistan that God opened up this scripture to me in Daniel chapter 8. I would like to send you a copy of it, and all I need you to do is take the time right now to call this phone number and give me your full and complete address. That's all you have to do. Give me your full and your complete address. Tell me where on the radio you are listening. Please don't forget to identify the source of broadcasting when you call, and then mention you'd like to have the message on the ram and the goat on CD or cassette tape. Tell me which one you want it on, CD or cassette tape. Your full address, the source of broadcasting you listen to, and mention the ram and the goat. Here is the phone number. The phone number is 1-843-701-5053. U.S. code 1-843-701-5053. Call right now and be sure to mention the station you're listening to and tell us that you'd like to have the message on the ram and the goat. It is sent to you free, and tell us you'd like to have it on CD or cassette. And be sure to mention the station you're listening to and tell us that you'd like to have the message on the ram and the goat. It is sent to you free, and tell us you'd like to have it on CD or cassette. Let us continue now with this profound word from the Lord.
Alas for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. Alas for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. Alas for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. For the day of the Lord is at hand. For the day of the Lord is at hand. Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord God. For the day of the Lord is at hand. For the day of the Lord is at hand. For the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice. He hath fed his guests. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men that they shall
44 minutes. 6h44 minutes.
be poured out as dust, their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. The whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty.
A few weeks ago, I received a phone call from a brother outside of the United States. I'm not exactly sure just exactly where he was. I think it was one of those southern hemisphere countries or whatever you want. And he kept telling me how serious the times were. And he quoted the scripture, "If the righteous scarcely be saved, where will the sinner and the ungodly appear?" I am utterly appalled. I really am, and I know you're going to again get angry at me. I was just sitting at the dining hall a few moments ago, and I was thinking again about how the Lord said to me, "You're going to be the most hated preacher on the face of the earth."
Think of you. Sinners lend also to sinners and receive as much again. Love your enemies.
They are held on and qualified for the qualification.
You know, and take easy and
Argentina won Saudi Arabia 2 at Qatar 2022. The largest World Cup may be a regrettable one, but it has already produced one of the greatest upsets in the competition's history. Saudi Arabia arrived at the Lusail Stadium ranked 51st in the world, a place below Qatar, and found themselves coming up against a team unbeaten in 36 matches. A run during which they have also become Copa America champions. They also had a certain Lionel Messi in the ranks. Argentina should have won with ease, but instead were undone through a combination of their own sluggishness and a display of great togetherness and ambition by their opponents. Crucially, Hervé Renard's men also had a shot in it, cancelling out Messi's 10-minute penalty via two well-broken second-half goals, scored by Saleh Al-Sheri and Salem Al-Dosari. Argentina reacted with increased intensity, but Saudi Arabia stood firm and eventually were able to celebrate a result of 10 shots and all. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we will continue talking about the biggest World Cup.
ちょうど間を割って抜けました。2番手15番のシャフリヤール、内田3番ベルトライゼンで一番は外から伸びた15番のシャフリヤール、石川さんに迫った3番ベルトライゼンで、しかしその間を割って6番のベラーゼール鮮やかに突き抜けました。ベラーズール安城はライアン・ムーアッチェ、最後は2頭の間から鋭く抜け切って 第42回ジャパンカップを制しました。
Brother Charles was here, and he preached a message on murmuring not against the truth. And he preached on that murmuring. The Bible said their murmuring was against God and against Moses, and against the things that God is doing. And we know it clearly in the Word of God. It tells us, neither murmur ye, as some of them did, and they were destroyed by the destroyed. This morning again, this is Saturday, October the 21st. Early this morning, I began to talk about the day of the Lord that I talk about so much. Why do I talk about it? Because I have been sent to tell you. Who do you think you are? Oh, come on. I am so weary with you people coming back at me. I have the faith, the calling, the anointing, and the God-given courage and boldness to stand in the face of the most anti-God, anti-word generation that's ever lived, and say unto you, thus saith the Lord. Suppose you're wrong, then I will die in disgrace, and die, and what? Surely if I'm wrong, I won't die and go to hell, because everything I believe is scriptural and comes from the Bible. So if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong, then there's no God, there's no hell, there's no sin, there's no consequences. And I have just lived my life, and whatever I got out of it, I get out of this. Well, I haven't got too much out of it, I can tell you that, except sorrow and heartache and pain and misery, and I'm not going to put that off on everybody else. No, my friends, I do not, I can tell you, I am wrong. I understand to the best of human capability that what is taking place on this earth has been foretold by the Scriptures. How many times will I quote this one to you? And they knew not until the flood came and took them all away. Do you understand that? And took them all away. The Word of God says, I will destroy man, for all flesh has been corrupted through them. And I am going to rid this earth of flesh. I am going to do it. Well, we've heard that for so many years. No, you've only heard it in your lifetime. You can't go back and say, well, it was told in the last generation. It was told. It's been passed down onto you. And it's from one generation to another. Yes, ever since the fathers fell asleep, they ended their generation in their time. But they fell asleep telling us that the end was coming, but God was going to bring it to an end. We've heard it ever since Jesus came. John the Baptist preached the wrath of God, and every apostle and Jesus himself preaches the coming wrath of Almighty God. And yet, it went from generation to generation. The difference between the preceding ones and the one you are now living in is that this prophet has told you by the will of God and by the Word of God, it's the last one. You are not going to pass this off. You are going to have to save yourself from this generation, the final one that is going to put the hand of God to provocation, they're going to provoke God I've often preached about that. It just came to my mind. It talked about Ahab. It says Ahab, who hobnobbed with Jezebel, he did more to provoke the Lord God of Israel than any other king before him. It was during that provocation that Elijah the prophet showed up and said, "Thus saith the Lord." And I'm telling you, this generation, this last one, is doing more to provoke God than any generation preceding it. This one is going to be the last one. And that is the truth. A brother writes, "Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you have built unto me? And where is the place of my rest? For all those things hath mine hand made, and all these things have been." Saith the Lord, you haven't done anything. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. He that kills an ox is as if he slew a man. Makes no difference to most men in this generation. He that sacrifices a lamb, as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offers an oblation, as if he offers swine's blood. It's abominable in our offering to God. He that burneth incense, as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delighteth in their abominations. Therefore, saith the Lord, Isaiah 66, verse 4, I also will choose their delusions, and will bring their fears upon them. Because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. How hear ye the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word? Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified. He shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from a city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that renders recompense to his enemies. Before she prevailed, she brought forth. And when her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Who hath heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation, a peculiar nation, be born of once? For as soon as shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, the door, saith God. Nay, he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness. As soon as Zion travaileth, then he shall separate as the sheep from the goat, the holy from the profane. He that trembleth at his words and is of a contrite spirit, then he that is unjust, and be unjust still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. He that is holy, let him be holy still. Then the door, the womb shall be shut. That's interposed there, and no more children shall be brought forth. Behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me. Rejoice in the Lord always. Ye that mourn, blessed are you. That's why you didn't mourn. We used to be comforted. It is better to go to the house of mourning than a house of mirth. Soon and very soon, Brother Stair, it shall all come to an end. Pastors, nations around the world, I submit that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. No unclean thing shall walk therein. Examine yourself to see whether you are in the faith. For the only way you're going to live these final days is to live by the faith of the Son of God, who loves you and gave you himself for you. Prepare you to meet your God. This is the message and the word of the prophet of God to this generation. A very heavy stone. And it shall happen in that day that
Thou from Okeechobee and reach into the key, lays the mighty wonder nature made, the mighty This is WRMI, Radio Miami International, Okeechobee, Florida, USA. Contact us at info@wrmi.net. Waiting in the Everglades.
Their impact on the world. I've seen more of the world coming into the church and impacting the church rather than the church impacting the world. I see the music taking over the house of God. I see entertainment taking over the house of God. An obsession with entertainment in God's house, a hatred of correction and a hatred of reproof. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. Whatever happened to anguish in the house of God? Whatever happened to anguish in the ministry? The word you don't hear in this pampered age. You don't hear it. Anguish means extreme pain and distress. Emotion so stirred that it becomes painful. Acute, deeply felt inner pain because of conditions about you, in you or around you. Anguish is pain, is sorrow, the agony of God's heart. We've held on to our religious rhetoric and our revival talk, so we've become so passive. All true passion is born out of anguish. All true passion for Christ comes out of a baptism of anguish. You search the scripture and you'll find that when God determined to recover a ruined situation, he would share his own anguish for what God saw happening to his church and to his people.
The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord.
But with God has done so much for so long with so little, we're now qualified to do anything with nothing. Weekly we feed about 2,000 meals for the poor and homeless. Our jail chaplain has baptized over 19,000 believers. We preach the gospel every day to all the world.
ちょっと追放手一杯なのかなと思いながらね、粘り腰。
なるほど。そこから来たんじゃないですかね、体重が。 このぐらいがちょうどいいんじゃないですかね。
Nunca te olvides del baldío que convertiste en nunca te olvides de aquel porcito nunca te olvides de la noche nunca te olvides de la novia que se te fue con el de calle. Nunca te olvides de aquel partido que se te fue por mal portado. Nunca te olvides de la noche cuando jugamos hermano. Nunca te olvides de ese beso cuando descubras que esta vida de la muerte se arrima cuando prepare no consuelo ese beso esta vida no es
So, I plan on gathering my family around the table tomorrow and say, hey, everybody, I want to say a Thanksgiving blessing before we start. And I'm going to quote, actor John Leguizamo, Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, F Thanksgiving. Yes, there you go. What a virtue signal, huh? Woo! So that's a fun little, nice little thing to start out this hour with. How about it, y'all? Okay, now, we have more information about the act of terrorism in the Denver Gazette. that in fact and first of all, the New York Times reporting tonight from the filings of the defense of the accused terrorist, the shooter that he wants you to call him MX, not Mr. or Miss, and he calls himself them, they, and that he's non-binary. Now the left all of a sudden can't say it's hate, because now they don't know if he's gay and if he's a spurned lover whose lover and new lover, whatever you want to call it, is at the gay bar. Maybe this guy went to the gay bar. In fact, don't laugh, because the Denver Gazette reported, quote, apparently he was the target of online bullying when he was 15, and he changed his name, filed in Bexar County, Texas, which is San Antonio. Apparently he was the target of online bullying and showed signs of a fascination with gay culture. Well, guys. Well, yesterday the left came for our guns and said the problem is assault weapons. And today they're saying it's hate speech. If you're against the gay lifestyle, then you are a hater. You caused this violence. And then I don't know if you caught this. Late breaking today, we have a report out of Chesapeake, Virginia. A Walmart massacre tonight, unfortunately. 5 killed. It could be as many as 10, according to the WAVY, which is a Virginia television station, I believe, reporting, yes, it's 10 on your side, WAVY. They're reporting that, according to police, it could be up to 10 people dead. And the message tonight, and by the way, one of the congressmen that represents that area, Bobby Scott, tweeted out tonight his virtue signal. Tragically, our community is suffering from yet again another incident of senseless gun violence. Yes, it's gun violence. That's it. The gun committed the violence. You're amazing. And when the terrorist mowed over those granny, the Black Lives Matter terrorist mowed over the granny in the Christmas parade in Milwaukee County, Milwaukee, or that was in actually Milwaukee's show, but the guy was from Milwaukee County, I believe. Anyway, that terrorist doing that was car violence. The left calling out for car control. Senseless. It's another act of senseless car violence. Do you remember they actually blamed CNN, I think it was, or was it MSNBC? Blamed the car. Remember that? They said the SUV drove into a crowd of people. Not the terrorist, not the Black Lives Matter terrorist. Oh, no. He was a victim. The car committed the crime. It just depends on what your political leanings are. Now that this guy may be gay, which is carrying us in Dallas-Fort Worth, but actually 866-90-RED-EYE is our number, 866-907-3339, 866-90-RED-EYE. It's, of course, Chris Crock in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio. We now know, according to the Denver Gazette, that he showed signs of fascination with gay culture. In the filings of the New York Times, he refers to himself as they, them, and non-binary. And I believe, finding out his dad and mom had a criminal record, his dad did pornography and drugs and was in an addiction show with an intervention and a life of crime. As Nicholas Brink, as a youth, established a YouTube channel in 2010 using the moniker, quote, the AZZ backward. He may have been a second video displayed on the site called Asian Homosexual Gets Molested. It was the only video on his channel. He may have created an animated video. What the what? Months later, in January 14th, 2012, as first reported by the Gazette, his mother committed arson in San Antonio. He was 11 years old. Do you understand this is just like the terrorist in Uvalde, Texas? His mom was on drugs. His mom was always dealing with doing drugs. His mother was abusive. His mother was violent against him. There was a man who used to live next to them, and he tried to minister to that boy. He was sweet. He was being the father figure the kid never had. And the mom moved away. He never knew what happened to him. And then a couple years later, he became a terrorist and shot up a school. This, we're seeing the same thing. It is not guns. It is not gun violence. It is not hatred of gays. This guy may be gay. We don't know. He may be trans. We don't know. What we do know is this. He comes from a broken family without a daddy at home who loves him and cares for him. And that's at the root of this. He filled that hole in his heart with something else. Could be the homosexual lifestyle, and then it could be hatred from a sperm lover. We don't know. But the key is a broken home and an absentee father. And the left wants to be your father. The left wants to be your provider. The left wants to be your daddy. And the left wants to be the daddy to everybody that will let it be its daddy. And they will control it. They will provide for it. It will own them. But it wants to provide and protect them. It wants to take away their guns. It wants to be their provider and their caregiver. It wants you to stay at home, smoke weed, watch Netflix, and don't own a gun, and don't pay attention to the news that actually tells you the truth. And by the way, Elon Musk is bad and Twitter is now bad. And people like you and me are terrorists and haters. And don't pay attention to the broken family issue that is causing the rot, the cultural rot that's causing a lot of this. We don't want to point that out. We want to blame guns and conservatives. Our number is 866-90-RED-EYE. That's 866-907-3339. 866-907-3339. Let's talk to, let's see here. Let's go to Mark in Oregon. You're on Red Eye Radio. Chris Crock in for Eric and Gary. Hi, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Am I on?
I don't know. Let me see. Is he on?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, I'm glad you're there. It sounds like you're on. I don't know. I can't answer the question, but go ahead. Since we're talking to each other, I might as well just go.
Okay, very good. The points that you were just hitting on with the children, all these kids come from homes of a single mother.
Yes.
With an only child boy, male figure.
Role model,
in the boy's life.
Correct.
Because, I keep guns in this house, but my children, and I have two, they know if they touch one of my weapons, that's not allowed.
Can I teach you something? Can I tell you something? I'm not going to teach you anything because you're an adult, but can I tell you something that I learned?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I learned that I need to demystify guns to my children so that if the day ever comes where they have access to the firearms that I have in this home, or that if they have access to firearms or one of their friends has access to firearms and they're at somebody's house, that they know what to do. Okay? And so what I did was I taught them to demystify. I demystified guns by, when they were ready, at a young age, taking them to a firing range and actually in them how to load, clean, and disassemble and assemble the weapon. They were demystified. And not until my son, who he's an Eagle Scout, etc. I'm proud of him. He's in college. But not until he was of an age that I was comfortable with. I think he was at 17 or 18. And it's not anything about illegality with his age. It's more about comfort with his maturity and his experience with a firearm and knowing what to do and how to handle it and being mature enough to know he'll handle it. And that he's emotionally stable and all that. Then does he have access to my gun, even if I'm off the premises and it's locked up in a safe space, but he knows how to get to it. And by demystifying it, he doesn't feel the need to find it, grab it, and use it. Because if you have one in your house and you have not demystified it, they're going to find it and they're going to use it. Not to terrorize somebody or kill somebody, maybe. I'm going to tell you why. I know. I was that kid. And you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me, but they will find it and they will play with it and they will use it, and you hope that they're going to be okay. That's just a personal experience.
I think I am 100% pro 2A, but I think I am 100% pro 2A. But I would say that is a parenting decision.
I'm just telling you how I worked as a kid. I found it. And I shot it. And I shot it in the field. And I was in 6th grade. So it's your decision.
I've taught my children, they don't I've told my children they don't touch my whiskey.
That's your decision. That's your decision. That's your decision. Move on. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. That's your decision. Move on.
All right, but
is that it? Is that it?
All right. No, just another.
Yes.
Just a story I'd love to share with your listeners.
Yeah.
I actually took a liberal woman out shooting last weekend.
Good.
And it was actually an eye-opening experience.
Okay.
Because, I took her up to the mountain, and there's, a bunch of guys shooting their 9mm, that sort of thing. You know what? People that shoot guns.
I was going to say it's not because we're nice people. It's because we don't want to hurt somebody, and they don't want to hurt us, and we don't want to hurt them. It's
correct.
You have a serious tool. It's a serious tool.
Correct. Going back to your comments, like going back to the whole thing with Colorado and what happened there, if people were armed in that club, there would be a lot less deaths.
Exactly correct.
If people started learning that there was people out there that are armed, they wouldn't act stupid.
That's exactly right. Now, I'm going to tell you about that coming up next. In fact, one of the victims of the terrorist attack got shot 7 times and is alive, and he said something about that, like that. We've got several lines open. 866-907-3339. That's 866-90-RED-EYE. And your call coming up next. We also have, we got Mary in Michigan. We got Chris in Ohio, and several of your calls lined up, and you're ready to go if you call in. All that's rock in for Eric and Gary.
Hi, I'm Jed Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on transport security.
These are all from testicles. These are all from, the male. This idea of the words being all bound up in the testosterone cycling. There's something about that. I'm no expert, but somebody needs to research that who really knows their way around biological things like that. So I want more men to come forward, which is one of the reasons that when Ron approached me, I was thrilled to help him, because we need the men out there. They were just buried in PTSD, and we never got to hear their stories, most of them.
Gordon committed suicide. He was 26 at the time, and I was living with him for 2 months. I'd been living with him. I left San Diego because he invited me up to San Francisco in 1974 to live with him and his girlfriend there. And we worked together and got to know his friends and that sort of thing. But, he was distant, and he was trying to pull it together, but he would cry through dinner, and there was something really bothering him that he couldn't talk about. And one weekend, him and his friends went camping, and it happened at that point.
I'm so sorry. Was he also in the program? In other words, was he sacrificed to the program by your parents?
Yeah. He through my life, he was always in institutions, nut houses, or being thrown in jail for drunkenness or something. But he was emotionally had problems, and I heard him say at one point when he was quite upset with my mother, and I was, 13 or something, and he said, how could you let them do that to me? I know that I am one of them, and I know that Ron is too. And I didn't know what he meant at that time. But as soon as he died, I became psychic, and I started going through a lot of experiences. And I believe that that is what he was going through, only he wasn't able to get it out because it's pretty outlandish what they put us through.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to hear it, don't know about it, can't relate.
Yep.
Ron, we just have about 3 minutes here before the break at the bottom of the hour. We'll open up the phone lines as well at the bottom of the hour and take questions and comments. But I'm anticipating, there may be someone out there who will call in and say, how do we know any of this is true? How do we know, Ron, this isn't a fever dream of someone? You're either making it up or you're delusional. What do you say to those people?
There's plenty of other things that people are coming to terms with right now, and it's going to be pretty difficult for people to believe that they understand everything that's going on the planet. There's a lot of revealing that's going on, and we're finding out a lot about the situation that we are in. And this is another portion of that big drive of these people that are playing God with technology. And that's where we are. And this is part of that.
Elena, anything to add for people who might say this just stretches all credulity?
Well, in America, my experience has been that people like their comfort zone and their convenience zone, and they need to do more. And I think that's been the good thing that has come out of the last 2.5 years, is that just letting somebody else deal with it and hoping that the angel of death will pass over you and you'll be fine is probably not going to work anymore. And we're going to have to look at the dark side of America if we expect to be able to save it.
Just very quickly, I've got about a minute here. I mean, is what happened to Ron, is that what's in store for most of us, all of us?
Well, we haven't even touched on that last point of this is a business model. I mean, I'm incensed over that. This is a business model, what happened to him, and what he is still being forced to do on a daily level. It's unbelievable that we have let things go this far.
A business model. So in other words, this has gone from the CIA, from the Navy, to government into the private sector.
Yeah, it's the what do they call it now? The public-private partnership? What a term. Yeah,
all right.
A lot of money. They're making a lot of money over how many slaves? How many are out there?
All right, we'll step away, come back, and as I say, we're going to open up the phone lines, take questions and comments for Ron Allen, 21st Century MK Ultra Slave, and Alana Freeland, editor. Here's Zach Bryan taking us into the break with Poems and Closing Time. The singer-songwriter born in Japan, grew up in the small town of Oolaga, Oklahoma. Back with more right here on Coast to Coast AM.
I've been over drinking, 'cause I've been overthinking, 'cause I get so damn anxious at night. Chemicals and nicotine, friends ask how you been. You just learn to say you're alright. Poems and closing time, oh sweet love of mine. I found it so hard to find truth. Poems and closing time, oh sweet love of mine. It'll always just be me and you.
The Glenn Beck Program, weekdays on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM and 580 AM. KIDO Talk Radio.
This is Kevin Miller with the Miller Minute on KIDO Talk Radio. Once again, the Boise Police Department unfortunately is involved in another controversy, this time over the alleged behavior of a retired Boise police captain. Mayor McLean wasting no time condemning the actions on social media. Allegedly, the captain was involved in speaking and attending a white supremacy conference. Of course, with social media, the age of presumption of innocence is over. The media, the mayor, condemning the actions. The mayor actually calling on people to give her tips to investigate the Boise Police Department. Look, racism is wrong, white supremacy is wrong, but the idea that the mayor has the vim, the vigor, the fervor for this pseudo-investigation led by her, which I don't know what her credentials are. Where was she when Chief Lee destroyed the Boise Police Department? Where was she that Channel 7 had to report on how bad it was before she gave him his resignation? With the double standards, Mayor McLean, we're watching. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Get your business in front of thousands of people at the annual Canyon County Kids Expo, happening Saturday, January 28th at the Ford Idaho Center. Canyon County Kids Expo is a kid's dream come true, with so many amazing activities like face painting, stage shows, fun houses, and awesome demonstrations. It's a day full of fun for kids while parents get to talk and meet with you about your business. To secure your booth today, go to CanyonCountyKidsExpo.com and click Become a Vendor. The annual Canyon County Kids Expo, January 28th. Booth space is limited, so lock in your spot today.
KIDO Talk Radio.
Kevin, they do great work, and thank you again for doing that this year. They are the heroes. They really are.
The Boise Rescue Mission.
They get in the trenches every day and change lives every single day. Their love, their consistency of love, just always being there, getting up, and being there and being available to people is really something. It's really easy for me to write a check. It's really hard for these folks every day.
You fed Treasure Valley families. Thank you from Kevin Miller.
I struggled with alcohol and drug addiction most of my adult life, and it's changed my life. I wish I'd have done it years ago, but it took what it took, and it took God getting me there to that place of humility where I could say, all right, I surrender, and it has absolutely changed my life. It's been the best thing I've ever done. I wish I'd done it 20 years ago.
You made a difference. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM.
The Department of Veterans Affairs is so innovative, it not only improves the lives of veterans, it transforms the lives of healthcare professionals who serve them with access to the latest technologies and remarkable benefits. Transform your future at vacareers.va.gov.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council. KIDO, Fox News, now.
Fox News, I'm Jessica Stone. Online retailers are basking in the success of this year's holiday weekend sales.
Consumers spent a record $9 billion in online sales during Black Friday. That is according to Adobe. Electronics, toys, and exercise equipment were the big draws.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. The National Retail Federation estimates about half the country shopped online over the weekend. A former college student who randomly killed a Florida couple 6 years ago and then chewed on one victim's face goes on trial Monday. Austin Haroof has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to first-degree murder. A judge will decide his fate. One person is dead and 5 injured after a shooting in Atlanta Saturday night.
At about 8 p.m., a group of juveniles were escorted off of Atlantic Station properties by off-duty Atlanta police officers and Atlantic Station personnel.
Lieutenant Jermaine Dearlove. America is listening to Fox News.
Thank you, Reverend Bill Roscoe.
Miller's Mission.
Everybody that's a part of the rescue mission. It gives me hope for humanity. Lets me know that there's still people out there that care.
You made a difference. Thank you from Kevin Miller.
And it's very heartwarming to know that. We live in some pretty dark times, man, and it's cool to see people scrapping for humanity, because the moment we stop fighting for humanity, that's the moment we lose.
KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller, weekday mornings, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM and 580 AM.
They've been waiting on me forever. And I've been down on earth and in this town, and I swear there's gotta be something better. New suit and a new tie. A real nice service for me when I die. cufflinks and a new tie. A real nice service for me when I die. Well, that's the thing about living. Well, you get there, you're seldom forgiven. And all your best friends are people that you just met. You can take them or you leave them. Well, they're sitting in this bar room, and I guess it beats the hell out of loneliness, sweet. Loneliness, sweet. Loneliness.
To talk to Richard Serrett, call the Wildcard line at 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is 818-501-4721. To talk to Richard from east of the Rockies, call 800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies, toll-free, call 800-618-8255. This is Coast to Coast AM with your guest host, Richard Serrett.
Welcome back. The Headstones and Three Angels from the Kingston, Ontario band's album Picture of Health, which was dedicated to a friend who died while they were recording. And lead singer Hugh Dillon, incidentally, is also an accomplished actor and has appeared in the TV series Yellowstone as Sheriff Donnie Haskell. TSA agents at JFK Airport reportedly let the cat out of the bag this week when a particular suitcase at a security checkpoint caught their attention. Unbeknownst to the suitcase's owner, a friend's kitty cat had chosen to use it as a place to relax before finding itself passing through the X-ray machine a few hours later. As the CAT scan image of the stowaway on screen was raising eyebrows, another agent made a more direct observation: the animal's fur through the partially open zipper on the bag. The feline, named Smells, was liberated from the luggage and taken to safety while the passenger responsible was tracked down. Apparently neither the bag's owner nor Smells were even aware that the cat had unwittingly hitched a ride. You can see that story in the highlight carousel up at coasttocoastam.com. And if you like what you hear from me this morning, maybe I can interest you in checking out my podcast, Richard Serrett's Strange Planet. New episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find it wherever you get your podcasts, Richard Serrett's Strange Planet. And if you want to get deeper into Strange Planet, you might want to think about a premium subscription. There are 3 subscriber tiers to choose from. You get access to my back catalog and commercial-free listening. You get a free subscription to my monthly newsletter, discounts on merchandise, and even an exclusive monthly Q&A with me over Zoom. To get your premium subscription, go to strangeplanet.supportingcast.fm. strangeplanet.supportingcast.fm. Back to my conversation with 21st century MK Ultra slave Ron